He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. In the low-lit paddock at Interlagos, Oscar Piastri's calm cracked just enough to show the bruise. A 10-second penalty and 2 license points for a move he swears was by the book. Front axle alongside, nowhere left to go, and the door closing anyway. When Charles Leclerc, the guy who ended up in the wall, says Oscar shouldn't take all the blame, you feel the ground shift. This isn't just about one crash. It's about where the sport draws the line between courage and culpability, and whether that line moved on Sunday. If you love F1 without the noise, hit subscribe and let's get into it. McLaren left Sao Paulo with a win for Lando Norris and a 24-point swing on Piastri. The incident? Safety car restart, turn 1, 3 white tension exploding in a heartbeat. Tonight we open the dossier. What Oscar saw in the mirrors, what the stewards wrote, and why the paddock is split. Lap 6, safety car in, tension sky high. Oscar Piastri lined up behind Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc, both jostling for space down the main straight. When the Mercedes started slightly right to cover Leclerc, Piastri saw daylight. It wasn't reckless, it was instinct, pure racer's timing. He braked late but clean, wheel straight, front axle level with Antonelli's mirror. By the FIA's own definition, that's enough to claim racing room. Then it collapsed. Antonelli squeezed, Leclerc hung on the outside, and 3 lines merged into one. Piastri locked a wheel. Contact, slight but terminal. The Ferrari spun, the Mercedes limped, and the McLaren's podium hopes evaporated. Within minutes, the stewards blamed Piastri entirely. 10 seconds, 2 penalty points. Case closed. Inside McLaren's garage, the replay ran on loop. Engineers froze frames, tracing overlays to prove overlap existed. They weren't arguing emotion, they were arguing geometry. Yet no explanation came that matched the footage. What McLaren saw as precision, the FIA saw as fault, and the fallout was just beginning. What stunned everyone wasn't the contact, it was the speed of the verdict. Before teams had even unpacked the telemetry, the FIA declared Piastri wholly responsible. 10 seconds, 2 penalty points, and a short paragraph that read like a final word. But the paddock didn't buy it. McLaren's data told another story. Frame by frame, Oscar's front axle was clearly alongside Antonelli's before the apex. That should have guaranteed him space, according to Article 27.3 of the Sporting Code, the same guideline used all season. Even Leclerc, whose race ended in the crash, admitted Piastri was a bit optimistic, but Kimi didn't leave room either. When the victim defends the accused, you know the system's under strain. By sunset, rival teams were whispering about consistency, or the lack thereof. Similar first-lap clashes in Qatar and Japan have been ruled racing incidents. Why draw the line differently now? Behind closed doors, the McLaren garage turned into a courtroom. Engineers replayed onboard side by side. Oscar's camera, Antonelli's, Leclerc's, syncing telemetry to millisecond precision. What they saw only deepened their disbelief. Piastri's steering input was smooth, his braking trace consistent, his speed curve identical to the laps before. No lunge, no lockup, no loss of control. The contact came when Antonelli's Mercedes squeezed tighter, leaving less than a car's width. Andrea Stella didn't explode. He didn't need to. His quiet fury was in the phrasing. If this is a penalty, we need to redefine what racing means. Within minutes, that quote was circulating through the paddock. Even more telling was the internal debrief. McLaren's data showed Piastri's car was roughly 33 centimeters inside the FIA's minimum room threshold. The steward's ruling contradicted the rulebook's geometry. For Piastri, the penalty didn't just sting, it reshaped his season. He had been within striking distance of Lando Norris in the standings, the McLaren rivalry simmering but respectful. Yet that 10-second hit dropped him from a potential podium to 5th, a 24-point swing that could define the final stretch. 2 license points added insult to injury, a mark that lingers far longer than a time loss. Inside McLaren, strategy meetings took a colder tone. Every call, every risk was now filtered through one question: what's fair anymore? Norris quietly extended his lead. No gloating, just silence. For the first time, Oscar wasn't just fighting his teammate, he was fighting the system itself. The FIA insisted the ruling was consistent with precedent. But consistent with what exactly? In Qatar, Russell and Piastri brushed wheels. No penalty. In Japan, Sainz squeezed Hamilton. Racing incident. Yet here, near-identical overlap became a 10-second punishment. George Russell called for a clearer definition of racing room. Fernando Alonso went further. If every move like that is penalized, you may as well tell us not to overtake. Fans filled timelines with side-by-side comparisons, each exposing another contradiction. Amid the noise, Oscar's calm, factual tone stood out. He wasn't accusing, he was demanding consistency, the thing Formula One keeps promising but rarely delivers. As the dust settled, attention shifted toward Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the teenage prodigy Mercedes is grooming for its post-Hamilton era. His defensive instincts are razor-sharp, sometimes too sharp. Onboard footage showed him turning in earlier than usual, leaving barely a car's width. It wasn't malicious, just the reflex of a driver still adjusting to life in F1's front pack. Paddock opinions split instantly. Some side as hard racing gone wrong. Others said Antonelli's inexperience met Piastri's precision in the worst corner. Even Leclerc, the instant bystander, called it just unlucky. Behind the scenes, Toto Wolff defended his junior. He'll learn where the limits are. Yet that only sharpened the question. If Antonelli's move was excusable as learning, why wasn't Piastri's judged with the same nuance? As night fell over Interlagos, Piastri walked through the paddock helmet in hand. No shouting, no finger pointing, just the silence of someone who'd lost faith in the system meant to protect fairness. 10 seconds and 2 license points are easy to measure. The damage to trust isn't. He spoke softly to the press. You try to race hard but fair. You take the space that's there, and somehow you still end up penalized. It wasn't rebellion, it was reflection. A young driver questioning how a sport built on risk keeps punishing those who dare to take it. For the FIA, this was more than another protest. It reignited a long-standing issue, the balance between rule and reason, between precision and instinct. If Brazil proved anything, it's that modern F1 is walking a tightrope between spectacle and bureaucracy. As McLaren regroups for the next round, one truth remains. Piastri's frustration has forced everyone, fans, rivals, even officials, to look again at what racing really means. And that story, the one about common sense and race control, is just getting started.